Welcome to DBQ Training. I'm your Social Studies Content Trainer, Jennifer Foster. In this session, we will talk about the DBQ, the what, the when, and the why to use one. DBQ is a document-based question with resources to analyze and interpret, which leads to an evidence-based essay at the end. In this training, we'll focus on questions and writing that are embedded in the DBQ. Finally, we will discuss accessing the platform for students and teachers. Let us begin by talking about the social studies instructional shifts. DBQ lends itself well to the shifts. We want our students to use sources to obtain the content. DBQ provides these sources. Once that happens, then students can make connections with events and people across time and place. Then at the end of the day, we want our students to make informed claims using evidence supported by their sources and background knowledge. DBQ writing at the end helps students to do this. What is a DBQ? A document-based question. Why use a DBQ? We use DBQs to teach our students how to think and question. The DBQ forces students to answer questions in the level 3 and 4 of the DOK wheel. Students must analyze evidence and critique sources. Students must make connections in order to synthesize the information, to construct a thesis, and then write an essay. Questioning in the DBQ. DBQ uses questioning to drive the instruction and delivery of the resources. DBQ begins with the claims question and then asks students to analyze resources through questioning. DBQ can be used as a teaching unit that entails students reading, writing, and developing thinking skills. As a teacher, we want to take time to think about how our students will experience the DBQ. We want to incorporate best practices into the DBQ for our students. We also want to make DBQ accessible to all students. Let's take a moment to look at an example of incorporating best practices into DBQ. Here we log into our DBQ. You can use Google or you can use Clever. Let's look at how we can incorporate a best practices into the DBQ. Here you see the cover of the DBQ. It says, what types of citizens does a democracy need? Over here you can see that I have marked up clear directions for the students. Any teacher can do this. All DBQs have a markup bar at the top of them. Here you see I have told students to observe the cover, and I tell students they can use ACEs to make inferences and draw conclusions about the picture. And then here I give clear directions on how to use the ACEs strategy. They make an assertion, they cite their evidence, and then they can explain or elaborate. And then at the end, they summarize. And students learn how they can use even the cover of the DBQ as evidence. Now let's talk about how we can get our students to use critical thinking. And remember that thinking is for everyone. We want all our students to be able to access the DBQ platform. In the DBQ platform, it always starts with a hook, and it starts with a question that drives the instruction, followed by resources to back it up. Let's look at the 6 steps of the DBQ. The hook, the DBQ starts with the hook, which engages students in the DBQ. The background essay builds the context of the DBQ to help students make connections and understand the content. The DBQ also helps students understand and clarify the question being asked. Students then do document analysis by questioning to engage in the resources in the DBQ. Then finally, students go through the writing process to produce a thesis statement and write an evidence-based essay. Let's take a moment to look at the hook portion of the DBQ. The hook is the first thing students see. It is the part that engages our learners. It is meant to activate prior knowledge and generate interest in the key concepts. By activating prior knowledge, students are better able to have a sense of new content and gain more understanding. And when students are motivated, they're confident and they'll try harder to face that challenging work. Here you see the hook ask students to pretend that they have a budget. It's about funding public works. Here students can work with a partner. They're given a budget of 500 million, and then they have to think through and decide how much they can spend on each of these things. You can see that the hook automatically generates questions for the students to answer. Considering the goal, this step, how long should you plan to spend on the hook activity with your students? How will you know if the goal has been met? When you're teaching the hook, you want to keep it short, probably no longer than 15 to 20 minutes. Limit the pre-teaching and let students grapple with the task. Let them come up with the answers. It builds excitement for the work ahead. This is a good opportunity for you to promote student-led discussions. Create a bridge to question and keep it light. Now let's talk about accessing the platform. The first thing you will need to do is to log on to Clever. You can log on to Clever by using your Google, Canvas, or your Clever logon. You may then find the DBQ red button by typing it in the search window in the top right corner. Once your DBQ button pops up, you can then click on it to enter your DBQ platform. Once you are in your DBQ, you can now create classes and assign content to your students. Let's stop for a minute of reflection. I would like you to take about 30 seconds and consider this question. How will you push this class code out to ensure that all students receive it and enroll in the class? Let's take a 30-minute second break to think about this. Once your students have joined, they will now be able to see your assignments. By clicking the View button right beside the assignment you have assigned, students will now be able to access your assignments from the DBQ platform. You can now add classes and assignments as needed. You will also be able to see your students in the class once they have joined. All you have to do is click the roster button. You will also have access to the DBQ library. Assignments should align with your subject and the current content that you are teaching. In closing, you now have another piece of the puzzle to help our students with analytical writing. How will you incorporate DBQs into your classroom? Be on the lookout for part 2, the DBQ markup. In the second video, I'll be showing you how to mark up a DBQ